here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day. We're News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, December 18th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Park Ki-woon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and Julie and Kim.
Thank you for also having me today.
Thank you for also joining us. Now, both here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So it's Wednesday, which means we're going to start with our keyword news of the day. Today's keyword is sleep. If you're only getting 6 hours of sleep a day, you might want to rethink your habits. That's because in 25 years, you could look like this. Now, this is Hannah, an AI model created by British bed furniture brand Benson's for Beds and sleep expert Dr. Sophie Bostock. And Hannah was developed based on 19 research papers exploring the effects of lack of sleep. And Hannah is suffering from chronic back pain, thinning hair, sagging skin, swollen legs, red baggy eyes, and a weakened immune system. And experts recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, as adults sleeping fewer than 7 hours are more prone to health issues. So here in the studio, I want to ask our panelists, how much sleep do you get per night on average? And do you have any tips on getting enough and good sleep?
Yeah, so I try to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep each night, but there are those nights where it's hard to get those 7 hours of sleep. While I like to blame it on having a lot on my plate, 9 times out of 10 is because I'm just scrolling away on my phone.
Same here.
Yeah, so I guess the number one tip is to put your phone as far away from your bed as possible. But if that doesn't work, try focusing on improving your sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene refers to healthy habits and environmental factors that are conducive to having a good night's sleep. And chances are there are multiple factors that are affecting your sleep. So create a consistent routine, invest in quality bedding, and watch it regularly. Avoid stimulants like coffee, alcohol, especially later in the day. And these small changes can make a huge impact.
You indeed sound like a sleep expert, Julian.
I try my best.
Very helpful advice on getting quality sleep. Now, what can you tell us, Ki-woon?
What can I tell you? I am someone who really puts a lot of emphasis on sleep as well, because it's really closely related to health issues, like you just mentioned in the newsfeed. I think, yes, sleeping at least 7 hours, 7 to 9 hours is very important, but I think it's also important like when you sleep as well. If you sleep at like 2, 3 in the morning and sleep 7 hours, it's going to feel different to when you actually fall asleep before midnight.
Right.
And also, I think the quality of sleep is very important as much as the quantity. So in terms of quality, I really try to sleep in a very fixed posture before I fall asleep.
Like a mummy.
Like a mummy, like this.
Yeah.
Because I heard that if you sleep on the side, it's not really good for your back and your organs as well. So I try to sleep like a mummy before I fall asleep, and I also take extra care in humidity.
Oh,
and also
humidity,
ventilation,
very important.
which is also very important factors determining the quality of your sleep. So I always leave my door open, my window as well. And especially during winter when we have the heating on, the air can get very dry, and the next morning you'll have very dry throat, which is going to affect the rest of your day. So I use a humidifier every now and then. And in Korea, people actually used to wet their towels.
Oh, right.
Hang it on top of their heads, on top of the bed, to keep the room very humidified, and just things like that. And also bedding as well. I use very expensive pillow and bed. It was a big investment I made, but it really helped the quality of my sleep.
Very great advice on guaranteeing quality sleep for our panelists. Hope our viewers try this out as well. And that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today we're going to focus on the latest lifestyle trends among our generation. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
Many travelers who visited Korea often praise the public transport system, calling it one of the best parts of their trip. Fast, punctual, frequent, and comfortable. Korea's public transportation is renowned worldwide. If you're new to it, stay tuned as we explore it further today on News Gen.
So we're going to start off our episode today with a very light but relevant question to our topic. How did you get here to the studio this morning?
Well, even though I should be saying I use public transport,
Please tell the truth.
oh, I actually drove my car. I drive to work every day, but for legit reasons. First of all, there is less traffic when I actually commute, so the commuting times doesn't overlap with the rush hour, so it takes me half the time by driving than actually using public transport. That's my first reason. Second reason is I try almost every day. I head to the gym right after work. So I put all my luggage, gym clothes, and like even my lunch as well in my car because I don't want to be carrying around it to work every day. And lastly, I drive a car that has a low emission. It's a low emission vehicle, which is very close to an eco-friendly car. So I guess I am minimizing pollution while maximizing the efficiency of my time. So that's the reason why I drive to work. But on like weekends and when I have to travel a little far, I would definitely use public transport as I have been for the past 15 years living in Korea. And I'm very fond of using Seoul Metro trains and buses as well because it's super efficient that we will talk about much later today.
Okay, but anyway, Ki-hoon drove his car to the studio this morning.
So do you, don't you?
Yes, so did I. But I also regularly use public transportation during the weekend because just like Ki-hoon, it takes me double amount of time to get to work by using public transportation than driving from my house. So I'd say that our reasons are legit, hopefully. Then what about you, Julian?
Yeah, so I actually took the bus today.
Oh.
It's not too long it doesn't take too long to get to the studio from where I live, so commuting by bus isn't too difficult for me. And I'll take public transportation for all three of us then.
Okay. But anyways, we all mentioned that we regularly and often use public transportation when we get around here in the country. And data shows that most people in Korea do rely on public transport for their daily commute, whether it's to school or work. So could you tell us a bit more about this, Ki-hoon?
Sure thing. Statistics have shown that Koreans are heavily reliant on public transport, mostly subways and buses, when it comes to going to school or work. So let's take a look at the screen to find out more. According to a survey conducted from July 2022 to June 2023 by Statista, a German online platform specializing in data gathering, South Korea ranked first at 41% as the top country to use public transport for commuting. Poland ranked second at 39%, then Austria, Mexico, and Spain. People like me who actually drive their cars to work accounted for around 22% here in Korea. And the reasons behind using public transport was obviously it was the fastest way to get to work or school. It saves cost. They're able to manage time while using public transport and, of course, avoiding traffic. That's the last thing you want to be stuck in.
Right, especially when you're in a rush.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so Gyu mentioned that 41% of people in South Korea use public transportation to commute, either to get to school and work. And besides the reason Gyu mentioned, there must be a lot of reasons why public transportation is such a preferred option here in the country. And I want to ask our panelists for your opinion because you've both lived abroad, for Julian in the States and for Kyun in Australia. So I want to ask you, how does Korea's public transportation stand out when compared to other countries?
Oh, it's like night and day. When I lived in the US, I had to drive everywhere. But now living in Korea, I drive maybe like once or twice a month. It's incredibly free not to depend on a car as the primary mode of transportation. And it's not just about daily commuting too. For example, when it comes to domestic travel, back in California, I would either have to drive like 7 hours if I wanted to go from LA to San Francisco or take a flight. And in contrast, Korea offers like a high-speed rail network and that connects most regions, so making travel very affordable and efficient here. Now, I've used public transportation in many different cities and countries, but Seoul's public transit is by far my favorite, actually. It's affordable, it's safe, it's clean, and it's dependable. Right now, it's actually about like 1 degree Celsius here in Seoul, and the train seats are heated. Yeah, if you take the bus, some bus stops even have enclosed booths that have AC, heating, Wi-Fi, and outlets too. Now, these features feel like a luxury, and I definitely enjoy them. But what stands out to me the most is the reliability and efficiency of them.
Right.
I can count on minimal delays, and depending on Seoul's public transportation for commuting, travel has never been an issue for me.
Right, so it also helps you effectively manage your time and schedule because you know when your next bus or subway will arrive. Then what do you think is special or unique about Korea's public transport system, Kyun?
Well, I came to Korea from Sydney, Australia 15 years ago, a long time ago. And from my memory of the last time I used public transport there in Sydney, it was incomparable to the Seoul Metro. The trains would run approximately every 20 minutes. So if you missed your train, you'll most probably be late to school,
Right.
Which I've been many times. And many trains didn't have air conditioning nor the heating system, only windows. And they weren't the most clean in terms of like seeing rubbish on the floor and in seats. And of course the smell as well. And there were also graffiti on the outside and like just a lot of scribbles and graffitis on the inside. And I remember, being one of them as well, like using my name pen to just write silly stuff long time ago. I'm sure they got rid of it. Anyway, I just want to emphasize that this was 15 years ago. So I actually asked my friend who lives in Sydney right now, or she's been living there for a long, long time, how it was nowadays, how the Sydney Metro was. And she said, it's gone so much better. It's actually very much like the Korean Seoul Metro because she is a reliable source because she actually visited Seoul a few months back and said, you know, back in Sydney, it's very similar to the Seoul Metro. It's super efficient, it's fast, it's clean, and like all the air conditioning, heating as well. So I think, Australia is definitely on the right track in terms of public transport.
Hope we can see more countries implementing this change in their public transport. Now, we've heard from our panelists. To hear some other opinions as well, we're going to invite a Gen Z in Laos who lived in Korea to join our talks after a short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Welcome back. Joining us today is Pusavan Chamala, a Gen Z from Laos. Pusavan majored in theater and film at Kyunghee University in Seoul. Welcome to the show, Pusavan.
Hi Julian, hi Kihoon, and hi Eugene.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Right,
Yes.
so Pusavan, we first want to ask you, how long did you live in Korea and what surprised or impressed you the most about Korea's public transport when you first used it?
Well, I live in Korea for 5 years, and now first thing that I was really surprised about Korea was the bus. There are so many buses, like the bus from the city, from town to town, and also from in between within the small town. I really love that kind of bus. They have so many type of buses. And there were things that I remember from living that is the subway. I remember last year I went for the New Year night, and the subway used to close at midnight, but on that day they extend until 2 a.m. It was so nice to catch the subway home on that day.
Right. Night bus is a really, really big thing here in Korea as well. Do you think public transportation here in Korea is enough to get around and explore the country?
Yeah, it is. I use a lot of them. I use them almost all the time when I have to travel from city to city. Like I use the KTX to get to Busan. Also, I use the bus. There's a bus from city to city. So I used to live in Suwon. I took the midnight bus in Suwon to Busan on that day. It was a midnight bus and it arrived at 4 a.m. in the morning. It was so nice. You can take a little nap and you arrive at your destination. And also the good thing about Korean public transportation is the time. They really secure the time that on the exact time. If it's say like on 10, it's gonna be on 10. I really love that.
So going off of that, are there any improvements you would like to see in the Korean public transportation system?
What I can see is they provide Wi-Fi, the charging, and also they provide some heater and air conditioning for the waiting at the station. For what I can say is some improvement that they need is the rushing hour. There is not enough bus in the rushing hour, and every bus is canned. Everyone is pushing each other really hard. If it could be improving for that, it would be great.
Right. Hope we can see those improvements in the future. All right, Pusavan, thank you so much for sharing your experience today.
Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Right, so it's now time to take a look into what our viewers think. We also asked them which services from Korea's public transport they'd like to see implemented in their own countries. And here's what 3 of them said. Our first comment for the day, Chabria says, I would like platform gates in the subway to prevent injuries and death while waiting for the train. Fare gates that shock fare evaders would be great too. You have no idea how great Korea's public transportation system is until you've ridden NYC Transit. Fuyushita Riso 1 says, I wish for a functioning public transport, to be honest. Have you heard of the Deutschbahn? Benny D97, I want to have smart shelters and also real-time information. So we did our live interview and also we've read our viewers' comments. So besides what Pusavan and our viewers mentioned, what do you think are some of the other standout benefits or the best parts about using Korea's public transport system?
First and foremost, the public transport system in Korea is very affordable.
Right.
No matter how efficient and safe they are, if they're too costly, it's not going to be accessible and appealing to the general public. So in Korea, in the Seoul metro area, metropolitan, you can transfer up to 4 times for free from both the subway and the bus, depending on what line and route you use. Plus, the Seoul metropolitan government recently introduced a climate card called 기후동행 card in Korean. This is transportation card anyone can purchase that provides unlimited use of public transportation like subway, bus, and even dareungi or the Seoul bike for a period of 30 days after charging with a one-time fare. So the 30-day pass with dareungi included costs 65,000 Korean won, which is around $45, and this allows you to travel pretty much anywhere in Seoul, from like Hongdae, Gyeongbokgung, Seongsu-dong, and even to Gangnam. So these are all these popular areas within Seoul, and this is definitely a must for foreigners and people, especially without a car.
Right, so the system is not only affordable for local residents, but also for tourists who are traveling the country as well. So Kyun mentioned affordability as one of the biggest advantages of Korea's transport system. What do you think, Julian?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, Korea's public transportation facilities are just amazing. Korea's summers are known for being extremely hot and the winters here are incredibly cold, so waiting for the bus can be hard for passengers. Luckily, both the buses and trains have AC and heating strong enough to feel like it's like the opposite season right now. So buses have heated seats and some even have waiting booths that are equipped with heating and cooling systems. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, and each stop has screens that give real-time information on when the train or bus will arrive.
Right, so this is definitely a big advantage, especially if you're planning to travel during the summer or during the cold winter, which the country is in right now. Now, our panelists mentioned various modes of public transport from buses, trains, and subways, but we want to focus more on buses right now because buses in Korea are evolving rapidly. For example, autonomous driving buses have been on the rise over the past few years. I remember covering Seoul City's first autonomous bus about 2 years ago, and last year it had actually introduced the first autonomous night bus, right?
Absolutely, that is correct. This was imposed to alleviate the burden of bus drivers driving late into the night and early in the morning, and also to help early commuters. So this autonomous driving bus became the first ever night bus in the world to run on a regular basis. And to minimize any accidents, all passengers must be seated with their seatbelts under the supervision of a safety worker in the bus. And also the bus system plans to increase routes into rural areas to help those who have less access to public transport. So the bus system in Seoul is highly efficient. It's always on time, but people have raised issues. It's not as accessible in rural areas. So we're trying to expand into those areas where almost anyone can have access to these kind of buses late into the night.
Definitely. So it's expanding its operation hours and also expanding the areas that they'll be operated. But buses are also set to expand their role, not just as a way to get around, but as a tourist attraction. Going back to Seoul City once again, the city government has plans to launch a bus that will even travel on the water, not just the roads. So could you please give us a sneak peek, Julian?
Yeah, so Seoul is set to launch a new water transportation system called the Han River Bus in March of 2025. Now, it's definitely not an actual bus that's floating around. It's more like a river cruise ship. These ships will have panoramic windows so passengers can enjoy the scenery outside. Personally, the Han River is one of my favorite places to go to, and I highly recommend visiting. Every time my friends abroad come visit, I like to take them there too. So that is why I'm especially excited to see this new water transportation system. And I'm excited to see what it will be like because I think it will be great for both commuters and tourists to get around the city, taking in the views of the river and traveling efficiently.
Right, it seems to be definitely be groundbreaking mode of public transportation that will be introduced in Korea once again next year. Now, public transportation is and will be the most convenient and cost-effective way for tourists to explore most countries, which of course includes Korea. So ending off, for our viewers who are watching our episode today, do you have any tips on making the most out of Korea's public transportation as someone who lives in the country?
So to further explain the climate card that I mentioned before, it's offered in the Seoul metropolitan area only for now. So there are also 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, and even a 7-day pass to suit the travel length and the needs of visitors, and especially foreigners as well. Furthermore, there is a map application on your smartphone that you can download for free, obviously. It not only does it give you various ways to reach your destination, but it also tells you which gate number you should use for the quickest transfer in subways, which makes everything so much more efficient. Because sometimes when you transfer in subways, you may have to walk a long distance and end up missing your subway. But these apps actually tell you exactly where to get on, which carriage, and that will give you like the immediate access to the transfer of the next subway. And I think there's a reason why Korea has evolved so quickly over the past decades for its like fast-paced, efficient society in life, because we love using the term 8282. Do you know what that means?
What does it mean?
Oh, in Korean, it's 빨리빨리, which means quickly. So I think Koreans are known to do things really quickly. Hence, like if you look at the bus and the subway system, it's so efficient, super quick, and it's affordable as well. So that's why even foreigners, they're in awe when they actually use public transport. Because I feel it as well, especially when I travel to other countries. I feel, oh wow, Korean transport system is the best. I can say this like through experience.
And they can make the most of their experience by using the map applications like you mentioned, and also the climate card as well. Now, what tips do you have, Julian?
Yeah, so going off the navigation apps, download a domestic navigation app like Naver Maps or Kakao Maps to easily navigate Korea's public transportation system. Now, these apps work seamlessly across the entire country, and also many signs in these stations are in English, so going around should not be too difficult. And a personal tip, if you're unsure about what direction to go to, check your phone app like the map and see what the next stop is, because chances are the next stop will match like the direction of the subway you're going to, so that is a good way to make sure you're taking the right train. So for buses too, you can also check the bus stop ID number that's both on the stop as well as on your app. And yeah, if you're visiting Korea, don't worry too much. This country is known to have one of the best transit systems in the world. So just enjoy it. And if you are struggling, there are plenty of resources here to help you.
Right, and you can always ask for help as well when you're having trouble using public transportation here. And that's all from NewsGen today, but we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks stayed to Park Ki-yoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And Julian Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.